He showed up anyway, uninvited, unannounced, standing at the edge of a Windsor Park charity walk, watching his own family from the outside like a stranger at someone else's party. And when Prince William spotted him standing there, his face went completely still. No anger, no words, just cold. That moment, that single moment of calculated silence, told everyone watching exactly what kind of King William is going to be. And what happened next in a small private sitting room at Windsor Castle sent a message through that entire palace that nobody is going to forget anytime soon. Freddie Parker Bowles is Camilla's grandson, and as of right now, he is permanently removed from royal life. Not on a cooling-off period, not quietly discouraged from showing up for a while. Gone. Permanently. With no path back. And the way this went down, the specific sequence of events, the room it happened in, who was in that room, and what was said, reveals more about how William plans to run this institution than any official statement, any public engagement, any palace press release ever could. This is the story. The anatomy of a calculated removal. Let's start with something that matters more than people are realizing. William did not make this decision in the heat of the moment. He made it weeks before anyone else knew. He sat on it quietly, let the evidence pile up, watched every move Freddie made without ever tipping his hand. And then, when the moment was right, he executed it in a small private sitting room with only 3 people present. No advisors, no staff, no witnesses who could later say he had lost his temper. Just William, Camilla, and Freddie. That level of control is more revealing than if William had screamed at the kid in front of everyone. Because this was not an emotional reaction. This was a structured, deliberate, pre-planned removal. The kind of thing you do when you have already decided, already calculated the cost, already accepted the outcome, and now you are simply following through. To understand why it came to that, you have to go back to where this actually started. Tom Parker Bowles, and the philosophy that broke everything. Camilla's son, Tom Parker Bowles, had spent years quietly simmering. He is the queen consort's son, who, in his own words, got absolutely nothing from his mother's position. No titles, no ceremonial roles, no official foothold inside the institution his mother married into after 30 years of waiting. And at some point, Tom Parker Bowles stopped being frustrated about that quietly. He started passing that frustration directly to his own son. He told Freddie more than once, half joking, completely serious underneath it, that this family owed them far more than they were ever given. And he said something that, in retrospect, explains almost everything that happened afterward. He told Freddie, "We take everything however it works for us, with force if needed." That was the philosophy. Do not wait to be offered. Demand. Tom coached Freddie word for word on how to raise the question of access directly with senior household staff, rather than waiting to be invited like everyone else had to. He told Freddie to ask for a ceremonial seat at a regimental event, something normally reserved only for working royals. That was the first mistake. And it was enormous. The second Freddie Parker Bowles made that move, his name landed on William's radar. William said nothing publicly. He simply assigned an aide to start monitoring Freddie's every move from that point forward. And Freddie, apparently having no idea he was now being watched, made it substantially worse almost immediately. A few weeks later, Freddie sat down for an interview with a lifestyle magazine and casually mentioned a private Windsor family dinner. He called William, the future King of England, a bit stiff. Said he didn't think he would make a fine king. Tom Parker Bowles had pushed him into doing the interview in the first place. He even helped Freddie rehearse what to say beforehand. William's office flagged that interview within hours. To William, the specific words were almost irrelevant. What mattered was what they revealed. Freddie Parker Bowles saw this family as something to spend for his own image, not something he owed any protection to. Then it escalated from embarrassing to dangerous. Freddie had been telling classmates he knew private things about the family he had absolutely no business knowing. One of those things was a private medical detail about King Charles himself. It reached a parent. That parent mentioned it to a journalist. The journalist took it straight to the palace press office. Staff spent 2 full days quietly killing that story before it could blow up into the open. Before this, Freddie Parker Bowles was an image problem. Now he was a security threat. Then came the messages. Freddie had been bragging to friends in a group chat. calling Windsor basically his second home, joking about getting his mates invited to polo events, asking palace staff to bend the rules for him because of who his grandmother was. A palace aide found those messages through security channels. William read every single line himself, and what he noticed stopped him cold. Tom Parker Bowles had said almost the exact same thing at a dinner a year earlier, joking that the family should start charging people for access. Freddie was not even speaking for himself. He was repeating his own father's words back nearly verbatim. In that moment, William made his decision privately. Nobody else knew yet. Not Camilla, not Freddie, nobody. And then the worst possible thing happened. Freddie Parker Bowles was caught on a recording, without knowing it, mocking Catherine in front of a group of friends. He said she was playing dress-up as a future queen. That she would never really be one of them, no matter how good she was at smiling for cameras. He mimicked her voice, called her coached, called her hollow, said she was all polish and nothing underneath. The recording leaked first into a wider group chat, then spread beyond that completely. The timing made an already devastating situation worse. It surfaced 2 days before a major joint engagement where William and Catherine were set to appear together, presenting exactly the unified image William had spent years carefully building. To William, this was no longer about access, or clout, or careless mistakes. This was a direct attack on his wife, the future queen, the mother of his children, coming from inside his own extended family at the single worst possible moment. And here is what made Camilla's silence absolutely unforgivable in William's eyes. She had known about those comments before the recording ever surfaced. She said nothing. She did nothing. Because some part of her, a part she had never once said out loud, was not entirely unhappy to hear it. She had spent years watching Catherine outshine her, watching William's favor shift further toward his wife, while her own position quietly faded. Freddie's cruelty said something Camilla had kept buried for a very long time. William's decision had already been made before that recording surfaced, but the moment it did, everything changed. This stopped being institutional. It became personal. The freeze-out, then the room. The freeze-out was methodical. First, Freddie's name was removed from a Windsor Garden reception guest list without any notice. He didn't find out from the palace. He found out from a relative who noticed his name wasn't there. Then a written note arrived from a private secretary. An event already confirmed on Freddie's calendar had been rescaled, and his attendance would no longer be required. The event went ahead exactly as planned, just without him. Then he was removed from the family communication thread used to coordinate Windsor weekend stays. He found out when he tried to RSVP to something and discovered he no longer had access at all. He called his mother. She had no answers. He called his father. Tom Parker Bowles picked up and did not sound surprised. "That's what they do," he said. "You need to fight." So Freddie showed up uninvited to a Windsor Park charity walk, stood at the edge of the crowd, watched. William saw him. His face went still and cold. Nobody in the family came over. Not a single staff member acknowledged him. Camilla, his own grandmother, kept her eyes fixed somewhere else entirely, refusing to meet his gaze even once. He turned and left before the event ended. That same night, he sent a text to a friend. "Tell me what I did, because no one will say it to my face." Nobody answered. Then came the Instagram post. Freddie posted stories from inside a restricted area of the estate, one of them showing a security detail visible in the background. It was deleted in under a minute, but had already been screenshotted and passed around. William's security team did not treat it as a teenage mistake. It gave William exactly what he needed: a clean, documentable reason to move. And he moved. 3 people. One small private sitting room at Windsor Castle, the kind of room used for nothing more than quiet family conversations. William did not raise his voice once. He told Freddie his access to Windsor was finished. His place at family gatherings was finished. Any future involvement in royal life was finished effective immediately. He used the word permanently. Then he said the thing that made it personal. He looked Freddie directly in the eye and said, "You don't get to mock my wife and call yourself family." Freddie's voice cracked. He looked past William, straight at his grandmother, and asked her directly if this was her decision too. William cut in before she could answer. This decision was made for the family. Not by one person. Camilla said nothing. She did not defend her grandson. She did not defend herself. After Freddie walked out, she finally spoke, quietly. just to William. She told him she hoped he understood what he had just done to a boy who never asked to be born into this family's mess. William nodded once. Like her pain was a cost he had already calculated, already accepted as the price of doing what needed to be done. Somewhere else in that house, someone had seen more of this than anyone realized. Princess Anne was at Windsor that same weekend. She watched Freddie leave the estate alone. No staff walked him out. No car was sent, just a regular taxi called from the gatehouse. Like he was nobody. Like he had never belonged there at all. Anne stood at a window and watched the taxi pull away. She did not move, did not call out, just watched. Days later, at a family engagement, Camilla's name came up in passing conversation. Someone mentioned family matters, nothing more specific than that. Anne gave a small nod. Staff who had worked around her long enough recognized it instantly, because they had seen that exact nod before, decades earlier, when another family member had been quietly pushed to the edges and never brought back in. That nod meant one thing: approval. That same night, Anne called William directly. Her voice was different than usual, softer, but firm underneath. She told him she was proud of him, that he had done what needed to be done, and he had done it without flinching. William didn't say much back. He didn't need to. Here is what this story is actually about. William is not just cleaning house. He is drawing a line that will define his entire reign. Access to this family is not a birthright if you are on the periphery. It is not something you can demand because your grandmother married the king. It is conditional. It is earned. And if you treat it like currency, if you mock the future queen, if you leak private information, if you believe you are owed something simply because of who you are related to, you will be removed. Not quietly discouraged, not gently sidelined, permanently removed, with no path back. Freddie Parker Bowles is the example now, and the fact that Anne, 50 years of unbroken duty, never complained publicly, never gave anyone a single reason to question her place, watched that taxi drive away and gave a silent nod of approval, that tells you everything about where this family is heading. William has her backing. He has her respect. And he just showed everyone inside that palace, his father, Camilla, every distant relative who might be getting ideas, that he will not hesitate to remove anyone who threatens what he is building. The era of entitlement inside this family is over, and it ended in a small private sitting room, with one word: permanently. If you made it this far, you already know this channel is not about the headlines. It is about what is actually happening behind them. Drop a comment telling me this. Do you think William made the right call, or did he go too far? Subscribe to Crown Watch, hit the bell, because the next chapter of this family's story is already developing, and I promise you, it is going to be even bigger than this one.